There is a podcast about an island in the North Atlantic where people have been looking for an incredible treasure for more than 200 years.
Hello and welcome back to Could It Be?
An Oak Island podcast.
We are your hosts, Deidre and Dustin White.
Hey,
Hey,
it's good to see you.
I thought you were trying to cue me up for an It's Oak Island Day.
No,
but
that's
it's not.
tomorrow.
I mean, technically, it's an Oak Island Day because if we're talking about Oak Island, then it is.
We are here to talk about Oak Island. That's
Yeah.
right. Well, welcome everybody. We are here to do what Deidre calls the MEGA-SODE.
MEGA-SODE.
It's the MEGA-SODE. We are recapping 2 episodes of The Curse of Oak Island right now, back to back. Well, not really in back to back. It's kind of all mishmash.
It's got a flow.
Yeah, so episode 5 and episode 6, Deidre basically compiled them into our notes into as if they were a single episode.
Yeah, made
It's a
it
2-hour
flow.
episode that
Yeah.
we're reviewing today, basically. All right,
Absolutely.
cool. Well, anything new this week? Anything happening? Doing good?
We're good.
All right,
We're
I'm
good.
I'm doing pretty good too. Quick announcement.
Announcements.
Oh, thanks for the little song.
You're welcome.
You got a dance to go with that too? Okay, so I'm starting a new podcast.
You are. That's right.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about that right off the top real quick. Tomorrow we're recording our first episode. It's myself, so Dustin,
Yes.
and one of my best friends, Dusty.
Yes.
All right, so Dustin and Dusty, we are doing a brand new podcast called... What is it
Don't look
called?
at me trying to cue you up.
It's called Dustin Off the Past.
Yes. Because
Yeah.
you're so punny.
Yeah, well, actually, it was one of our listeners that came up with that name. Her name's Jennifer. Thanks, Jennifer.
Awesome.
And yeah, pretty stoked. So that's going to be tomorrow night at 8:30 Pacific, 11:30 p.m. Eastern.
Mhm.
And it's going to be chatting about things from the 80s and 90s and the 2000s and parent life a little bit. It's going to be a lot of fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So anyway, you can, if you're interested, come find me on Facebook. Actually, go to facebook.com/Oak Island Podcast. I put a link to the group where we're going to stream that new podcast on our Facebook group, or page. So there you go. Anyway, it's going to be fun. And now let's get to your regularly scheduled, or not really regularly scheduled, Oak Island podcast.
Yes. Okay. So now that these are compiled together and we're talking about the root cause
Mhm.
and hatching the plan.
Yes.
Okay. Whew.
Well, hatching the plan was actually first.
Yeah. So hatching the plan, then the root cause, but that's not how they're organized in here. Just flow with us.
Yep. So let's chat. Let's do some research center off the top.
Yep. We're going to hang out with our friend Carmen Legg.
Carmen Legg got to go to the Oak Island Research Center. It was great to see him on the island. He was there with Marty, Gary, and Doug.
Of course.
And they wanted him to check out this object that Gary had found a couple weeks ago in the spoils, the Dunfield spoils from Lot 18, right?
Correct. Mundo.
Yeah.
It's good to see Carmen. Like on the island.
Yeah, especially on the island. It feels like we haven't seen him enough this season yet.
Yeah, it's terribly unfortunate. And you know what? I noticed him and Marty matched.
Did they?
They were like twinsies with
They were
their maroon polos.
Broing down.
Yeah, maybe they're like BFFs behind the scenes.
And they're like exchanging fashion tips. Probably not.
Probably. I mean, I'm down for that. Anyway, so they pull out the item that they found, right?
Yeah, it was like a chisel, or that's what they had initially thought.
Let's see here. My piss spoils, and he's thinking it's a chisel, but Carmen's like, no, it's not.
Sorry, bro, you're wrong.
Right? It is.
Look at here.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just looking down at our comments, and there's something's cracking, and I'm not sure. What's
cracking? I don't see anything like that in the chat. I see our chat's excited that we're here.
Oh, what's cracking? I'm thinking he's talking about the sound. Okay, I need to stop. So it ends up being a cribbing spike. Carmen Legg knows a little something about what those are.
Mhm.
And they're looking at the grain and such on it, and how old it could possibly be.
Oh,
And
very old.
very old. We'll call it mid 1700s based off the grain of the iron.
Yeah. I mean, that's old. So,
Well, yeah.
did he say he said mid 1700s or just 1700s?
I think he said about the mid 1700s.
Well, I mean, that's when they're getting a lot of dates from that neck of the woods. So,
Yeah, and Marty's very happy about it.
yeah. Well, why wouldn't he be?
Well, I don't know. Maybe you should ask Marty.
Well, I could call him. He's called us after all. Maybe I should call him. And be
I
like,
don't
"So
think he's
what's up,
going to
Marty?"
pick up.
Okay. Well, maybe he will. Maybe I'm best friends with Marty and Carmen Legg, and you just don't know about it.
You're right. That's very possible.
Okay.
Speaking of, Marty is saying they're getting a whole bunch of dates from the 1700s in regards to, they're getting for tunnels and shafts that have been previously unknown. And they have to make sense of all this new information that is coming in with these dates. You kind of have to reckon what keeps presenting itself.
Well, that and how what appears to be the story now is that, we could have had people depositing stuff in the mid 1700s, but they could have been basically the last people to deposit things because it could have been going on for centuries before that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I don't know, at first glance, when I hear like mid 1700s, I'm like, I mean, that's pretty close to when they found the money pit, right?
Well,
but when I remind myself that could just be the last people who deposited it. I mean, it deposited there in the money pit.
But still, okay, if like Marty says, anything pre 1795 rings his bell, if you will. Anything pre 1795 is a pretty big deal.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
And
that's all they wanted originally.
Yeah, that's all Marty wanted. He thought he set the bar high, but clearly he set the bar low because the island is feeling rather giving at this current time.
Spooner will raise you 1200s
stone road.
Yeah,
I mean, paved area
in the swamp. Yeah.
Right. So,
all right, cool. Well, that was it for Carmen. Basically, it was good to see him, though. It was good to get a what's his little catchphrase?
Well, look at here.
Yeah, so we got one of those.
I don't do it as good as he does, though.
Well, nobody does.
Well, yeah, because no one else is Carmen.
All right, well, let's go out to lot 18.
Copy that. We're
do
on all different parts of lot 18.
The what?
We're on all different parts of lot 18 because we're hopping around looking for Dunfield spoils, and lot 18 is
hopping around lot 18. Do 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 do.
A lot of the money pit is on lot 18 as well. So that does explain that. So in the just east of the money pit on lot 18, ... Rick, Billy, Gary, and Jack are looking through one of the Dunfield spoils area.
Yep.
And Clotworthy gives us a nice little flashback and reminds us that in 1965, Robert Dunfield dug a 100-foot wide by 140-foot deep hole, which left behind a lot of dirt that was never searched for possible clues or valuables. And just last week, they found an artifact in one of the other spoils piles. I mean, there's a lot to go through.
Yeah, well, the Dunfield dig was a big giant cone. It wasn't a cylinder straight down.
No.
That's something that they don't make they don't put that across on the show very well. Like they don't, I wish they would.
The way it would have tapered.
Yeah, I wish they would explain that a little bit more. They do sometimes, I think, on the Maddie Blake specials and whatnot. Like they talk about it a little bit more, but it would benefit everybody if they did that. Because, there's a lot of people I see in Facebook groups that say things like, well, they're getting, they're hitting what they think could be a shaft at 90 feet, but they're right in the middle of the Dunfield pile. So it's like, they already dug that up, guys. And it's like, no, not quite. They dug there in a giant cone. It tapered down. It was wide at the top. Itty bitty little.
Yeah. And there was like a
width at the bottom.
If you go back through and you're looking at where the different Dunfield digs were, there was like a Dunfield Trench. You've seen that classic picture of him on the logs with Dan, right, looking through and trying to figure out exactly, where they coned down, where the trench tapered down. It's hard. I've gone through a decent amount of video footage and just plans that were drawn up and done that are publicly out there, and they may not know exactly where, and I don't. They've got their best guesstimate.
Got an idea.
They have a pretty good idea.
No, I have an idea.
What?
So we've seen Steve's map where it has the circle for the Dunfield spoils, right?
Yeah, that says Dunfield's Edge.
Yeah, so maybe that's at depth, like at 90 foot ish. That's where they would expect that width to be there, because you've mentioned it many times. You're like, that's not 100 feet across.
Yeah, no, it's about 25.
So maybe that's what they're estimating at the depth of 90 feet is what that circle you're seeing on the map is.
That makes sense. You also
I usually
see
do.
in the middle of it, it'll say like Dunfield base.
Mm-hmm.
And where is that? Like what's the depth of that? Is if that's the Dunfield base, I'm assuming that's at 140 feet, right? So whatever the difference is in the slope / triangle, you could probably calculate, but it's not going to be exact. It's not, regardless.
Hard to know, but I wish they would go into it a little bit deeper and be like, hey, slow up, take a step back. We want you guys to understand this, because I feel like we kind of, generally understand it. Our listeners are smart people. They generally probably understand it, but a lot of people that just like are, some of these Facebook groups have like 100,000 people in them. Right. And they're just like, yeah, whatever. And they don't get it,
Okay. I've got a controversial, opinion? What do they call those now? Unpopular opinion.
Ooh, don't be unpopular.
Well, whatever at this point.
I don't want to be like me.
But I was thinking, just as I was doing notes for this, they may want to thank Dunfield, because right now, that's why they have a green area.
Didn't I mention that like a week ago or 2 weeks ago?
Well, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, you don't listen to me.
Yep, I get it's fine. But they may just kind of want to be like, hey, we could be shut down.
Yeah, it's good.
The fact that they even have spoils to get through. If Dunfield had figured it out then, like they're saying maybe he did because of what they're finding in the spoils, then
maybe it was a lot more obvious.
They would have never got it.
Maybe it was a lot more obvious when he was starting his dig too in the area, like where he should be going. And now it's just a jumbled up mess. So it's really hard for people coming in after the fact, like our favorite brothers from Michigan and their partner, Craig Tester.
Well, naturally, right? Like that makes sense. But what he was looking for was probably something that wasn't subtle, right? That was going to hit you in the face and be like, ta-da, and then the glowing menorah or whatever is going to pop out. But if it's this offset chamber, like is Marty's leading theory, then he could have been coming down into with those beams that came out of there, what was the cribbing and the making that go into the offset chamber. And had he followed it, but he didn't have very long too.
He had 6 months to get in and get out.
And I actually read a document online that he only had 5 months. Oh, so I may have been wrong on that front, but it's hard to say. Okay, let's say he had 6 months. That's still a ridiculously short amount of time. We know a big dig with the brothers. We're talking like 3 years. Whoa.
Yeah, well, he didn't have any reason to think he was wrong. And he's like, yeah, you're like, I'm going to pull up the treasure, so it doesn't matter. Let's just create the ugliest hole, get down in depth, and that's all he needs.
Well, and what he did with his skill set was, he made a stable hole, right? Wasn't he I don't know. He was one of those smart people and created this based off of his knowledge base. What Marty goes on to point out, which if I go back to my notes here and I'm staying on track, because clearly I'm off track, is that in the side interview, Marty says that Dunfield didn't have all the people that they had to be able to search and go through the spoils like they have, right? And with their wash plant, with Jack. I mean, Jack might as well just be the wash plant. And it didn't have the same manpower. It takes money. It takes time. That's a big thing. I mean, they spend more than 5 months on the island as is, right? It averages about 7. So he's not going to have the time to go through and look through this super carefully. They're looking for the things that are going to hit him in the face.
Well, thankfully, at least one brother from Michigan has a big bank account, and he can afford to stay there a lot longer than Dunfield did. So,
luckily, because it's
thank our
drained a
lucky
lot of
stars
people.
for that.
So now we get to, kind of be along in the journey. Anyways, as they're searching through this particular spoils on just east of the money pit, they find a large chunk of metal and a large piece of wood with a fastener in it.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's been originally put in there, right?
Yeah.
So Gary says they should be able to date the timber even based off of its fastener. Well, we should at least be able to date the construction, right? Makes sense.
Yeah,
to
you
me.
should be able to. Yeah. Oh yeah. But hold up, step back. Rick Lagina.
Yeah.
That dude is a beast.
I know.
Like I'm looking at Rick Lagina lifting up that giant, partial beam.
Yeah,
it
it's
looks
just like no big deal.
And I'm like, my back hurts just watching you do that, bro. Like,
yeah, it's a little.
and he's like,
bananas.
he's pushing like 70 years old.
Yeah.
Or is he 70? He might.
Yeah,
be
I
70.
think he's
so
at least.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, Rick's a beast.
Yeah.
He doesn't let anything stop him.
Doesn't let anything. Rick smash. Anyways, so he pulls that out and
Rick smash. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Sorry.
And what he's saying is they know this stuff came out of the money pit, right? So whatever they're finding here, it came out of the money pit from that dig in that money pit area. So whatever is in there, maybe they can chase it backwards in time and really get some more information that's just been laying around the island and not being taken advantage of.
Well, even if they're not finding the treasure on the treasure hunt, they're finding all sorts of information on the information hunt.
Yeah.
So they're successful when it comes to that. They might not have all the answers, but they're getting a lot of information.
Exactly. So also lot 18, but on the west side.
Billy and Jack attack.
Yep.
They attacked that Dunfield spoils once again.
Yeah, that giant mound.
Well, Jack gets a pretty big hit because he's like, he's working the metal detector. He's like, well, Gary's not here, so I guess I got to do this.
Yeah, he's like double fisting it. One arm's the detector and, shovel in the other.
Yeah, and so he gets a hit and he asks Billy to dig it, so that he can get a little deeper to figure out what's down there. They come across another large timber, but it doesn't have any metal in it. So he's like, where am I getting these metal hits?
Yeah.
But it does, when they pulled it up, like it had holes in it,
like
looking like you could stick wooden dowels into this. And I think Clotworthy went in explaining like how back in the day, wooden dowels were preferred over metal because they were less corrosive and they would hold the water better. And crazy.
I mean, even on my notes here, it says it looks like a giant Lincoln log with a dowel hole.
You and your Lincoln logs on Oak Island.
Well, if we got some Lincoln logs, we could just like punch some holes through that little section. I'm like, look, mini Oak Island. Let me build a money pit.
If you weren't here for season, what was that? Oh my gosh, like season 6 or 7, 6. Deidre was all about the Lincoln log theory out in the Smith's Cove.
Yeah. Hey, Laird confirmed my Lincoln log theory. Okay. So it's legit and we can keep calling it.
Well done. So proud of you.
We are proud of you. Say, we are proud of you.
Clap, clap. All right. So then we had Jack and Billy still investigating the spoils at another point of the episode. Billy's digging. He notices something that looked kind of odd. And Jack got a little bit of a closer look and it appeared to be the original sod. Like the grass
Mhm.
under the
Like,
ground that
the grade.
that they would have put all Dunfield spoils on top of. So it's like, what?
They found the layer in the sandwich.
Yeah, that's pretty
right?
crazy.
Like, they now know where the base is.
You're pretty excited about this, weren't you?
I was excited.
Mhm.
Actually, I wasn't excited at first until they kept going.
Well, they got the Jack 6000 on the case. He's going to keep going.
They had the Jack 6000 and Billy's trowel,
Mhm.
and they keep going.
And they're allowed to do whatever they want here.
I know.
So just go for it, guys.
You remember the war room where Billy's like, I could go dig holes on the other side of the island and no one's going to bother me. Well, Billy's just digging a hole in the green zone.
Yeah.
So him and Jack Attack are doing their thing.
Mhm.
And it's exciting because they're seeing what appears to be more maybe stone road. Okay, think about this. There's the Dunfield dig. He's placing the spoils on top
of the road
of the stone road
from the swamp.
and doesn't even know it.
No idea.
He has no idea. And it wasn't very far under the surface. It's like sod road.
Yeah. Well, Billy did have his big trowel, so he's able to dig down a little bit. It might have been it might have been more than you.
Okay, it wasn't
realizing.
90 feet is what
No,
I'm trying
No, it
to.
could have been like 5 feet.
It-
It could've been
shallow is a
less,
relative term here,
Yeah,
but
when we're talking digging on the money pit, yeah, shallow is relative.
exactly. So, that's just crazy to me.
Mhm.
And at first, I was like, yeah.
So it was like their initial thought was, I guess we need to get Steve out here to plot this stuff.
Mhm.
So did they do that?
They're like, I think we need to call in Steve Guptill, put up the Guptill call.
Oh, the Guptill signal.
Yeah, the Guptill signal.
guarantee.
They should just like flash that in the
Mhm,
air,
they should.
and then he comes
If
running.
you don't know what the Guptill guarantee is, you need to go back and watch our most recent episode, or not episode, I guess, just live stream
Pre-game,
on
yeah.
Facebook, our pregame live stream. Deezer showed off what the Guptill guarantee actually is. So go find it on
It's pretty rad.
Facebook.com/Oak Island Podcast.
I need to get it on some merch.
Yeah, you do.
Okay, so Sod. Oh yeah, because Billy's like, this is everything that looks like a road.
Mhm,
They get excited because
mhm.
rocks.
Yeah.
And Steve comes trotting over.
Doo-doo-doo.
Doo-doo-doo,
He's like, I'll
like
grab
a
my
gazelle.
GPS.
yeah, I'll grab my GPS, and he does.
Mhm.
And he, takes some plots
Mhm.
to try to see if maybe the stones, would line up with something over there.
Yeah.
And he looks at his TopCon tablet there. He
Mm.
remember when he got his brand new GPS and was telling us about it in
Yeah,
that interview?
And how it's like everybody likes it so much better because it doesn't like annoy everybody like
It doesn't
to.
make weird sounds
Mhm.
and talk to you. Well, he
Upgrade.
had mentioned that the tablet, like maybe you'll get to see more of it
Mhm.
because he can do some cool AutoCAD stuff and that you couldn't do on the other one. Well, we actually got to see some of the plotting on his tablet there.
Mhm.
I was able to. Dang, I don't have it in front of me. I had the date and time and everything, and then it
Of
was
course you
21
did.
degrees Celsius or something out when he was doing that.
She's
Anyways, I
not one of
took-
those weird obsessed fans, let me tell you.
No, not at all. So I was screenshotting it because I wanted to see where all the plot marks were he had on the screen.
Of course
And
you did.
I'm going to overlay them on what I have for stuff.
Why
and
not?
maybe I can figure something out.
Well, why not? Sure.
Don't give me
That's
too
what you
much
do.
information. I'm going to take it.
Yeah.
So,
All right. So they do all that. Then
Yes.
they call in the cavalry. Right?
yes. Well, after Steve says, based off of this preliminary stuff, it looks like it lines up to the swamp.
That's exciting.
Very.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, well, we better call in the cavalry.
So who gets called in? Rick, Marty, Spooner, Alex, and Craig, right?
Yep.
All right. So they go to check it out. And I can't help, I'm not reading this directly from your notes here, but
Mhm.
Rick and they all came down there. They're looking at it. They're moderately excited. Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, cool. But then I feel like they prematurely called in the cavalry because they're like, I'm not too excited about this yet.
I know. And I was like, why aren't you more excited about
Because
this?
like literally they barely scratched the surface of
That's
this,
true.
and they probably should have they needed to call in the cavalry because they need direction.
Well, yeah, like what do
but-
we do?
Like, it's just funny that they were like, meh, like,
And then Billy,
I mean, it's cool, but like,
he goes, he pretty much just pulls back another scoop and goes, well, look at this.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, well, that really does seem very road.
Yeah.
Like, and Spooner even jumps
like, get more
down
excited, guys.
I know. Spooner's like, I'll show you excitement, and jumps in there, and it's like, yeah, it's got organic material on it, and it's like rock on rock with organic material. So this seems like it makes sense. It would be the Hand of Men. So, yeah, remember when I said the projected path that Steve made? I said, why don't you just go along some of that projected path and let Billy in a green area go find the road. I don't know if they listened to me. I highly doubt it, because it's not like I knew when they recorded it. Anyways, that's it.
Yeah. So that's the end of the Dunfield spoils in our notes.
Yes, but now we have like a very specific money pit stuff.
Yeah, lots of money pit. All right, before we do that, in the chat right now, we have someone that hasn't been with us before. I just want to say hi to Andrea real quick. Hi, Andrea. She's from Toronto, and she says that this is her first time catching the podcast live. And she says, finally, it's one of the best podcasts on Oak Island on the web. It's knowledge plus humor. Yeah. Thanks. And she's a bit worried about hearing spoilers since she watches the show in Canada days after the United States History Channel. Because like it airs here on Tuesday. And then it's 5 days later on Sunday in Canada. And we usually try to get the podcast in somewhere between those 5 days.
Yes.
And it so sorry, next week might not be so lucky, Andrea, but we were glad you're here today. And I just wanted to say hi because I saw that in the chat.
Yeah.
That's from
Thanks
YouTube.
for joining us.
Yeah. So let's talk Money Pit.
Yes, Money Pit.
The first time we go there, we have Terry and Charles manning the operating table.
Yeah. We're there for like a hot second, and Terry is telling Charles that they're about 20 feet away from C1. Charles is thinking, yeah, C1, you better plan this year around me.
Yeah.
So Charles is stating that as far as they're concerned, this is uncharted territory and undiscovered area. And gold's out there. They just haven't found it yet.
Well, they found some trace elements.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How long have we been chasing a shiny gold thing? A long time.
Yeah. Long time. All right. So the next time we see the Money Pit, we have Rick and Scott joining Terry. Oh, and Craig joins too. It looks like Charles isn't there anymore.
Charles is like, peace out, do my bidding.
Charles is like, I got to go do some Mason stuff. Peace out.
I got to do some Mason stuff. Let me go calculate this path and follow it to my gold.
All right. So they're working on E1.5 in this area, and the team believes that Dunfield's search for the vault in this is the area that he would have been searching. They looked at the 75-foot section of the core, and Terry explained that what looked to be tight in situ material is what they're seeing, and then they come to what looks like could have been Dunfield backfill.
Yep. And Terry's a bit disappointed by that.
Yeah.
But Rick is like, hey, that's actually good information because it confirms what they believe. And this is kind of why I was thinking about the Dunfield dig, that this would have been the section that Dunfield maybe filled in, or we are right at that edge. And so any information is good information. However, it's the next section that they're really interested in.
Well, duh. That's that's the zone where they find their wood that they're so excited about all the time, right? It's where they're hoping to intersect a tunnel or shaft or something.
What's it Steve said like an episode or so before? It's like we can't miss. Okay, Steve, calm down.
Calm down, bro.
We need that. That's just a button. Okay, Steve.
Calm down.
Sorry, Steve. Hopefully he doesn't listen to this one.
Nah, Steve's a good sport about everything.
He is. He puts up with us. So
yeah. So this new section that they get it onto the operating table, it's down to a depth of 89 feet. When it opens up, it looks like there's a lot of little chunks of wood and a beam.
Could it be
a beam? Could be. And it's a solid chunk of wood that's pulled down. Scott says it looks like it was cut with a pit saw.
And apparently Steve's there because he says, Scott, what's pit saw? and
then Scott
Scott
us.
has this wonderful educating moment for all of us that Clotworthy builds on about pit saws and how you would work them back and forth, and someone would be in the pits, someone would be above, and how you can identify that it's pit saw is because what you're going to see is with the angle going up, and then the person like at top would like tilt it and then they pull it down, and that's why when you're looking at it, it would change at these sharp angles.
So you're saying that Scott Bartlett knows what he's talking about?
Yeah, he gave us a more moment. I actually sent him a message. I said, you had a very nice educational moment on the show, whatever day. He never responded to me. He's probably like, okay, Deidre.
He's like, good for me. Good for you.
For me. I say, I know about pit saw now. Yeah. And then Clotworthy goes into the exaggeration part where it, since the dawn of time, pit saws in different cultures have been used. The Egyptians, and he's showing hieroglyphs of,
ancient aliens probably use pit saws. You know what I'm saying?
They probably invented the pit saw.
Clotworthy is probably really well versed in pit saws.
He might
because he's probably heard about it 10 years ago on Ancient Aliens.
I thought you were going to say because he's an alien.
I don't think Clotworthy's an alien, but maybe, who knows?
I mean, I don't know.
I would not hold it against him. I would be very stoked.
So our next interview with Clotworthy, make sure to put that in there. Are you an alien?
Yeah, that'd be fun.
He'd be like,
all right, so the next section of Money Pit, because it kind of ended there.
Yeah.
But let's go back to the Money Pit. We got Steve, Charles, Terry, Craig, and Alex. We got Alex Lagina at the operating table.
Right.
Steve says that they are ready to open the next borehole, or ready to
pin it.
Put
a pin in it.
All right. Oh, okay. And that's a D 1.5.
Is.
Yeah.
And I have a little side note here. It says, look at the map. Exclamation point.
And I see you have OMG.
They added a column 0. So I've now had to go in and start adjusting.
Wow.
I knew that the grid was going to go further to the west, and there'd be like, so there's a column 0, and then there's going to be like a -1, -2, -3, and all the way over. He can't create more alphabet, so I don't know if he's going to do something the other way, but who knows? Steve knows.
When you said that, all that comes in my head is try some of column A, try all of column B. I'm in the mood to help you, dude. You ain't never had a friend like me. Ha.
So there's a column 0, and I'm going to have to be adding that and updating the Money Pit maps, because also if you look at the screenshot from that, there are boreholes at 0 on the line.
Hot dog.
And my mind exploded.
Yeah, well, they've been awful close to line 1 for a long time now.
Well, they've been over it.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, guys, like you back yourself into a corner here. Now they're gonna have to go -1, -2.
Exactly. Like the Dunfield Circle has always come just outside of 1, and then we know we had EJZ. Like when Xena,
oh yeah, I remember that,
is mapped the boreholes that were further off to the side. And then the other way we have, was it shaft 9 that is just off to the east on the Money Pit grid? So anyways, there's a CD 0 and a D 0, and they need to be added to the map. And I just wanted to show that. That is my informative.
So did you add them to your map?
I'm working on it.
Good job. Well, I'm proud of you. All right. So Clotworthy went on to explain this borehole is one of 20 laid out in a strategic grid.
Of course.
Just so we didn't forget. And they've already found possible wooden tunnels at 75 and 90 feet. And they could date back as far as 18th century.
Bada bing, bada boom. No, I was just looking at something. But you are annoying me.
I'm slapping something over here.
Yeah.
Well, you annoy me all the time.
And you annoy me. Look at that.
Well,
look at here.
That's called marriage.
Is that what that is?
Yeah. You ever see that movie, Princess Bride?
Once.
Me too, only once.
Okay, Carrie. We're only on page 2 of 9 on our notes.
Then take it away. Speed us up, Mama. in my head, I just have, you ain't never had a friend like me. Like I get these things in my head and I can't get them out. And
Yeah,
so
you
I'm
have
just
like monkeys in your head.
Mhm.
Okay, so Clotworthy's explaining. Stop dancing. Okay, and we hear Marty saying that they did find 2 pieces of iron
Mhm.
with gold metal flakes on them,
Mhm.
and that the drill program has brought up several pieces of wood dated before any searcher could possibly be around the money pit. He goes on to say that it's been an information hunt so far this year, but now they're looking for treasure.
Didn't they do that last year too?
Well,
And the year before?
yeah.
And the year before? I know. It's just funny that they say things like that. It's like, duh, why are you guys there? You're looking for treasure.
Information
reiterate it,
leading
though.
them to treasure, if you will. Anyways, the new core is coming over, and Adam from Choice
Mhm.
Drilling tells them it's from 84 feet.
Oh, getting down to the danger zone.
Danger zone. In a side interview with Alex, he says they have a lot of strong evidence this year, but they also have a lot of experience that you could miss by just the smallest of margins. If you
Yeah.
miss by an inch, you miss by a mile.
Where have I heard that before?
I don't know. I think he must be listening.
He probably saw us on Expedition Unknown saying it. Whatevs.
Yeah, that must be
that's just us,
Oh,
on TV all the
yeah,
time.
because we coined the phrase and all.
Basically, when it comes to treasure hunting, yes.
So Steve opens up the end of the sausage. He's clearly eager to get going and says that they have wood. And says it looks like they just grazed it. And Terry agrees, and it doesn't look like they hit it head on, if you will. So okay, Terry goes on to explain that it gives good indications of tunnels potentially. And Clotworthy chimes in. He's like, hey, more evidence of a tunnel at 84 feet deep in borehole D 1.5.
Say what?
So
Clotworthy's
excited.
I wish it was borehole like F.25-9.75.
That is my favorite.
It's my favorite.
Craig is saying that previous targets, the wood samples were dated from 1488 to 1650. They were at depths of 88 to 91 feet. So this is shallow to anything they have found in the immediate area that he can recall, at least. But no, wait. Oh, he goes on to explain that this could be part of a tunnel system. It's just not collapsed at this particular portion, which makes sense, right? That's versus.
Yeah, not all of it. Some of it might not be pancaked. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, and we talk about how it like would tear up to go over to a chamber, and it would need to be above sea level.
Sure.
Because if you're going to create tunnels that would flood and you're using seawater.
Yeah, the seawater will make, deteriorate all that wood, break it down over time. If it's above the sea level line, it's not wet all the time, and it could theoretically be
if you want to keep it
sustained.
dry.
Yeah.
And you're working with what you got.
Sure.
Then you're going to bury it above sea level, right?
Yeah. So Brennan McMahon says, let's hope the next 5 feet give us more.
Yeah, because they're excited.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's the shallow part.
Yeah. And so they're still drilling that D 1.5. Adam from Choice brings over that next casing,
sausage.
The Choice sausage, 88.5 feet deep on the table. Terry says that this is Christmas and he doesn't want to be holding off opening the presents. So he's as happy as a school kid right now.
He's full of the Terryisms right now.
Terry is the most he's literally the most optimistic person on the island, like more than Steve.
Do you think, is there anybody more optimistic than Steve?
Yeah, Terry Matheson. Like he is always like, it's the next one.
That's
the
true.
Next one.
That's true.
Like,
he doesn't lose hope.
He does not lose
but
hope.
Steve thinks they can't miss.
Well, but they do.
With their powers combined. Anyways, so they're drilling on D1.5, and Craig says that D2 is kind of their go-to area.
Yeah.
And this is really close to that. I mean, it is only, it's only a little bit away.
Yeah, it's like a couple feet. So
Yeah.
it's like right there. Boom.
And Craig calls this a big can area. So this is definitely one of the ones he's pretty
Yeah,
focused
I
on.
said boom.
Goes the
There
dynamite.
you go. Just
Now
for
I've lost my spot.
Just for our old listeners that haven't heard that much lately. Yeah. So Steve says that they have wood at the bottom again.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, I'm no pro, but I would say we're scraping down the side of something. Terry agrees and pretty much repeats what Steve said immediately after he said it. And they're possibly looking at a vertical structure and they're scraping down along the side of it. So yes.
It just made me laugh when Terry just repeated what Steve said.
Yeah,
He's like,
Steve-
I'm no pro. And Terry's like, I am a pro. I will repeat what you said, and it's officially valid.
Steve should have said, I know you are, but what am I? I know you are, but what am I?
Oh, man. That's good stuff.
So they do look at the small piece of wood that comes out and it looks to be rounded. It could be a kind of knot or something in the wood.
Mm-hmm.
And Alex says that he thinks it might be axe cut. And that's important because that would indicate old.
Right.
So
Scott, Marty, and Rick show up since they've been alerted to the interesting finds that they possibly found part of a wood dowel at 92 to 93 feet, and they believe they hit a piece of wood about 6 inches thick. So that's probably what they're thinking they're scraping down the side of. And it would have been an intersection of about 10 feet of materials.
yeah, I can't help but to think that these guys showed up again and they're like, meh, again, like they weren't too impressed with what they saw. But they were encouraging nonetheless.
They're like, you better find wood at this horizon in this zone. But it's taken them a long time to get to this point where they can't miss.
Yeah. Well, Marty did bring up his whole offset chamber again. And he explained that that's his leading theory, of course. And you would have to have a decoy where the shaft was. And so he's stoked. He's like, okay, he might not have been super impressed with what they had at the time, but it just reinforces in his own belief, like, yes, we're finding what we need. And yes, it's an offset chamber somewhere. That's just what he keeps telling himself.
That makes sense
to him, for sure.
Right? Because we know if you have an impression in the ground, then that's going to be like a giveaway. But if you have this offset chamber, because you dug over and up, you're not going to have the impression in the ground where the actual treasure is because of how it was dug.
Yes.
That's all.
That is all. All right. Alex points to the money pit grid and says there's this kind of rectangular area where they are hitting wood. Terry says that it's about 18 feet by 12 feet, this area. Marty and Scott agree that this information could apply to a chamber too. Craig hands Marty a piece of wood that Charles pulled out that appears to be rounded. Charles says that if this date's old, then maybe it's the original workings and they were actually constructed by the dowels and not by spikes.
Or a combo thereof.
Yeah. The possibilities are endless, people.
Absolutely.
Rick says that the next step is to take this to 150-ish feet. Unless they find confirmation on this hole, then they'll probably do another in the area.
Makes sense. P.S. If you go to the end of the episode and you're watching and you do a screenshot of the map, there's a rectangular area that says possible shaft or tunnel. Just saying.
Well, I know of one
I'm
place.
watching your map, Steve.
I know of one place where it said in a rectangular plot, and there was treasure there.
Well, good call. I guess there must be treasure in that.
But I was in Cleveland,
plot.
Ohio.
Yeah. Not quite the same.
Not in Canada. Sorry. All right. So let's go to the swamp.
Yeah.
We are wrapped on Money Pit.
Yeah.
Let's go to some swamp action.
Okay. So Laird, Miriam, Helen, Liz, Alex hanging out at the swamp.
Who's Helen?
The archaeologists that we have met for the first time officially.
First time. And
The last.
for
so
now.
sad.
For now, you never know.
I know. It's very possible that they could come back.
Okay.
Like, I'm holding out hope. So,
Okay. Sorry.
Robert
Go.
Clotworthy reminds us about what they found 3 weeks ago with the pottery and how they've been working on everything.
Mhm.
And that they actually have received permission to continue searching for evidence on the far west side
Mhm.
of the stone road that they found last year, which would possibly tie those 2 areas together,
Mhm.
right? Either this one, the one from last year, and this new area that they're finding. So that's more or less what their permitting says.
Mhm.
Alex asks what they found, and Laird has Helen explain things.
Mhm.
He's like, here you go. Here's your chance.
This is your
Present your
moment. Helen,
findings.
this is your moment.
This is your time.
Mhm.
And Helen says that
Her last name's Sheldon. Is that right?
yeah, I believe so. It says that they were looking / investigating this area to the west of the Stone Road because it appears it just kind of disappears. The Stone Road would just drop off and nothing's there anymore.
Mhm.
So is there anything there that could potentially link them together? And they had just come down on a new layer of stones that seemed to match up with the cobbled pathway. And
It's what's going toward like the road, right? And like
and toward the money
projected-
pit. Yeah.
Well, oh, okay. I was talking the other way. Sorry. Yeah, and toward the money pit on the one direction. Sure.
Yeah, because like Steve said at the end of last year, he thinks it's a highway, or what do you say? Interstate, the Oak Island Interstate. It's not just one path, it's multiple, blah, 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 with exits and stuff.
Mhm.
So
Well,
this
Steve
is part
also-
of the Oak Island Interstate.
Steve said a lot of things last year.
He has said a lot of things this year, too.
Well, you remember his sea shanty that he said last year? So he said a lot.
He did.
The Steve shanty.
The Steve shanty. Anyway,
It's
so
good
there's
stuff.
also like a piece of wood
Mhm.
that it like directly would link to that next section,
Mhm.
and they can date that.
Mhm.
It's exactly what they're looking for per the permit.
It's dateable.
And that's actually what their permit says, is they're looking for artifacts that could tie it together and are dateable.
Cool.
It cracks me up because then Alex goes on to say, like, did you find anything else? He's like, this is exactly what we're looking for. Like, dude, I found it already. I'm just quick, okay? Don't ask for more. But it's one of those things. Is it going to shut him down by finding something? And Laird's like, yeah, pretty much. That's the worry. Anywho.
Yeah.
This is also the section where Laird is explaining to Alex that they did, like, one of their goals this season was to do a trench or a cross section through the stone road from last year to see if they could find any dateable artifacts like we've been talking about. And they did find a root that was growing under the road. It like was an invasive into it, which could actually, they took a sample and is gone out for C14 dating, which means we might be able to get a date for the road. Woo!
Booyah.
That would be fabulous.
Heck yeah, it would. There is a little side interview with Marty talking about the archaeologist. And he says it's been such a big part of the search the last couple of years and their findings. And they're finding a lot of things. But the elephant in the swamp is that if they find the First Nations artifacts and, you know, and they're following the rules, what's going to happen? You know, because
it's a real worry.
Yeah. And so until they find out a path forward with the new archaeological work, it's a little hazy as to how much further they keep going. And Laird tells Alex that they did a trend. Oh, you already said that part.
Yep, I already went through all that.
But, well, we didn't get the Marty part.
Yeah, my bad. But then let's talk about this very sad war room.
Okay, well, so Marty's been basically teeing this up
Yep.
for like weeks and weeks because
Yeah.
he's been knowing what's going to have to ultimately happen. So.
Exactly. So we have what a powwow. We have Rick, Marty, Craig, Paul, Billy, Alex, Jack, Doug, Laird, Scott, Helen, and Miriam
It's a full war room.
in the war room for an archaeology update. And this all happens like shortly after the tree root and the wood beam discovery.
Yeah.
Marty says that they're a little confused as to what they can and cannot do, and feels that to date they have done everything right. And to him, there are these spots where it's like getting bigger and bigger that they can't go to.
Yeah.
And so what they're able to do is less and less. So internally, they've decided to make the decision to back down on archaeological methods for the time being and kind of let the dust settle on all this.
Yeah, you know what? I was real impressed with Marty, like taking it upon himself. He needed to be the person to say it all. He didn't delegate that to anybody. So
mad props. Seriously, that's not an easy conversation.
It's not. Looking at Rick, he didn't want to have that conversation. Laird didn't want to have that conversation.
Laird knew it was coming.
Yeah.
It's just, and he did it in such a great and a respectful way.
He did.
And I really appreciated that.
Well, he's been saying it for weeks. They need to protect their own rights too. And they've done a lot on the island. They can't just lose it all because they find some things, maybe once this is all said and done, maybe they come back and do a full archaeological
well,
thing
like you said, the
island.
guideline right now, everything's a little blurry.
Yeah.
Like what you can or can't do, what'll
Sure.
happen when you find something. So that contract or whatever the paperwork says probably has a lot of if this, then that, unless XYZ, then that.
Yeah. I mean, it's been pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, he let them know, right?
Yep.
And so then we go on to, we have a final scene at the swamp with the archaeologist.
The final let go. And Laird's not there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't think
they keep Laird.
I feel like Laird couldn't bear to be there.
I
was like
my
I feel
heart
so bad for him.
broke for him.
Yeah. He didn't necessarily want this to happen, right? So.
No, he definitely didn't. He's also been very clear that he doesn't agree with what's been going on.
Yeah. So we had Marty, Alex, Jack, and Gary show up to chat with Helen, to chat with Miriam, and to chat with Liz, and say, basically, though we're done right now,
but thank you.
We thank you so much for all the effort you put into Oak Island, and if you have any bright ideas, give us a call. And Miriam's like, "Oh, I had this idea. The treasure's right over there. Yes, do that and give us a call." They're saying,
"Please let us know." And then it's kind of crazy because, like they said, on the last day, that is the day they came down on the connecting feature with the root, with the piece of wood that connects the road. They just found that, and then you gotta go.
Bye.
At least they got that.
Yeah, so that was bittersweet, and I bet any of them would jump at the chance to come back and help them on the island again, should the need arise.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
and Laird, just to be clear, Laird's there still full time. Like, he's part of the team. And he's there to advise them and help them along the way. Matter of fact, he has his own trailer.
Hey, and don't worry, when we get back to making trading cards again, we'll make a Liz and a Miriam trading card.
Oh yeah,
for sure. Still gonna happen.
Yeah.
FYI.
Because that was something I'm sure everybody's biggest concern.
If they're not on the island, do they get a trading card? They've been a big part of the island the past couple of years.
Well,
they deserve a trading card.
Carmen Lake. He's not necessarily on the island.
Yeah, but he's going to get a trading card.
Exactly. Robert Clotworthy has a trading card, and he's never been to the island.
But he is the voice of Oak Island.
Yes.
All right. So
let's go to a different war room.
Yeah.
Which is where they're talking with, let's see here. Oh, okay. This is
Matt.
Yes. He is a mechanical engineer, and he's the one that's got some different interpretations or ideas about what Zena's map says.
Yeah.
Which was interesting because he didn't really present a theory like we normally would
No,
see.
he's just like, hey guys, I think you've been reading this wrong.
Yeah, he's like, oh,
look at this little squiggle line. It's actually not pointing to what you think it's pointing to for that word.
yeah.
It's just an observation, and that is awesome. I'm so happy that they gave him some time to explain that. And even it was just a little tiny thing that's been overlooked. That's it. That's all it took.
And he's like, oh yeah, I was looking through this information, and I think he's saying, you could be going down a rabbit hole when really that's not a thing. So he looked further into it. He looked at the actual French map, explains how the draftsman that made the map, they do like the little lightning bolt. He's very consistent in the markings. And seriously, guys, did nobody think the hole under and the hatch,
Are two different things?
we didn't put 1 and 2 together?
I got something to say. Okay. This this is actually really good that this happened for lots of reasons, but here's one that hasn't even been discussed yet.
Okay.
If the map was a complete hoax, it would have been noted immediately that this is how it should be laid out. The fact that it was it's been like 4 years since we've seen the map show up on the show, that this has been overlooked over and over and over again. To me, that gives it a lot more credibility, because like if it was a hoax, someone behind the hoax would have alerted somebody somewhere, even if they didn't want to, be seen doing it. Hey, make sure that looks like it, it's you guys aren't labeling this right or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that lends a lot more credibility to it being something. Don't know if it's connected to Oak Island or whatever, but something. So I just wanted to say that.
I think it was an excellent observation. I'm glad that it was something that was presented, real or not real, as far as that debate goes with Zena's map. But it was wonderful that you can see something like, hey, I just want to help you. Here's some information I noticed after doing my own research. I don't really have a theory, but maybe it's going to help you along the way. And that is how this is going to get solved.
Boom.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
I said boom.
Goes the dynamite.
Yeah.
I still want to go blow up some holes with Dave Blankenship. That's on my bucket list.
I know you do. So I just want to say, Matt, researcher.
Good job.
Good job, bro. Love it.
I think it's really funny how Marty kind of jabs them. Everybody's like, really, guys, this blew by all of us.
We have all these brilliant minds sitting in this room together day after day after day, and nobody thought. Yeah, that's a V8 moment.
Yeah, it's a V8 moment. And Marty even felt like, really? Like, even I didn't. We couldn't put that together, guys. It gave me a good chuckle, but it was wonderful.
So all that leads to doing some additional tests out on the western drumlin of Oak Island. So they go to lot 22. It's Doug and Craig. They meet up with CSR geosurveyors, Daniel and Taylor.
Yep.
And they're showing them Zena's map and where the supposed hatch should be. And, that's what they're concerned with. But the people are brought there to do a survey of the entire island.
Correct.
Except for lot 5.
Well, lot 5 and then the Blankenship.
And the Blankenship. Yeah, that's right. So, yeah.
We knew they were going to do a full survey going into this year anyways, especially after the Behringer survey that they had found. Craig suggested that maybe they repeat that same type of survey, right? So we've got the VLF method, and then you have the Magmetrometer method. So what they get results on later that we'll go into has to do with Magmetrometer readings, and that is looking for metals underground up to 30 feet. So that's what that's looking for, such as iron or steel. And the VLF survey is looking for large anomalies, such as tunnels or shafts, and that goes up to 180 feet. So that's not looking for metal, it's just looking for the anomalies, versus the magnetometer goes down to 30, and it's looking for things particularly that are metal hits. I loved the graphic, and as they were walking across, this like hatch shows up right underneath the surface. I was like,
It's so funny they do that kind of stuff. They have to get the viewers excited.
well, and they have to give us a decent, like an explanation, a watered down explanation. So they're telling them, do this whole area. We want you to start here because this is what we're most interested in at the second, but make sure to do the whole island while you're at it.
Yeah. So they do.
They do.
And then they go back to the war room with the results.
Yes, they do.
And so they had Colin and Mitch from the CSR operations crew to come and review that the survey results with the team.
Mm-hmm.
And the VLR needed more processing before they can show those results. So that wasn't presented. But they did have this big colorful map with all this magnetic intensity all over it.
Right.
And what caught Jack Bagley's eye,
Mhm.
he's like, whoa, there's like something happening over on lot 4. That's right where the hatch would be.
And there was like a big spot, and then the two other
But
smaller ones.
There's a problem that
Yeah.
you and I have been talking about. So they show the supposed map, and then where the vault is a lot closer to the shoreline. Or where the hole under the hatch is a lot closer to the shoreline. The vault, or no, the valve. The valve is where they keep, or is where they could have found this, but they keep calling it the hatch.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we all originally thought the hatch was, because that's what we thought that was pointing to.
Right.
And so, I don't know.
I guess when you're used to looking at it that way for so long, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's funny because Steve goes, well, I've been, calculating it based off of what I've done in the past. That's about 10 feet away from where I would have put, the hatch on the map. And I'm assuming he means from before, right? And they're like, yeah, it's like 10 feet off the road, and it's a pretty big hit. So if you don't know of anything like right there, you might want to investigate it. And they're like, well, duh, we're going to do that. And they actually run out and do that like right away.
Like almost right away. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just funny that I don't know, that they're excited about the hatch, and they all talk about the hatch, and they had just cleared with the guy. Oh, the hatch is actually supposed to be closer to the shore. And then they're like, no, hatch, more inland. And it's like,
wait,
whoa, bro,
calm down. I think that's the valve to turn off the water to the thing you're trying to get to.
Maybe.
So look for that too. And so they head out to lot 4. Okay.
Yep.
So they have a powwow out there. We have Steve, Doug, Gary, Laird, and Jack.
Yeah, they got the big guns. They even got Laird out there.
Yeah. And Laird is standing there with these giant clippers in his hand. He is ready to take someone out. He looks like he needs to take out some of his aggression after
the culling.
He's had a rough week at least, So they're like, get out of Laird's way.
But then
Gary, they tell him to stand down.
Yeah, Gary was like, bro, I think I got this, mate.
And Laird goes, are you sure?
He's like, I want to do it.
And he's thinking, I need to take him out. So Gary's going out to metal detect, and they have to bring Laird, so Laird can approve that they're digging places, and Doug is following very closely behind with a ridiculous amount of flags and a marker.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
So they get a hit, and wait. Okay, sorry. Let me back up. So Steve tells everybody that him and Doug have put together a possible 11 targets together for them to check out based off of that map. So this might be like their first stop along the road, right? So, and Laird's thinking, okay, well, I can take them out on one of our other 11 stops. That's had to be a long day. That's probably why Doug had all those flags. And leads them to the area. And Gary says, let's go, navigator. Lead on.
Lead on.
And he does. And as they're metal detecting the areas, Gary says quite often right now that he should be able to winkle his way around, even though it's overgrown. He winkles a lot of things out this season, if you haven't noticed.
He's a winkler.
Winkle. Gary on his first find, he brings up a small piece of metal.
Yeah, it's
that
kind of a
was pretty
squarish.
deep. Yeah, squarish, kind of
Really
oddly
thin.
shaped. Yeah.
It has like a curve to it. He gives it to Laird. Laird
Mhm.
says, yeah, it's too thin to be like a pot or something.
Yeah.
So what is it?
And Laird Classic, I don't know. We'd have to research it.
Bag it and tag it.
Bag it and tag it.
Yep. So then they do some more work on lot 4 and with
Mhm.
Gary and Jack returning to the search, and they so they have a metal detect hit, and they found like this stump,
Mm-hmm.
and they kind of like dig it up. It's like a really old stump. It's like crumbly and stuff, you
Yeah.
know. And so they move it and pull it up, and there's a flipping leather strap with a buckle like under the stump. Like, how long's that thing been there?
Well, yeah, and yeah,
Under a
some-
dead tree.
that's like since died,
Mhm.
right? So if that was dropped, and then you've got all the forest floor that grows, and then a tree has since grown and died since it was found again. So that's saying something.
Yeah, if it's a really, really old buckle, I could see maybe the I don't know how long it would take for that leather to degrade
Mm-hmm.
in just common regular elements. It might be hundreds of years for all I know. I don't know.
Mhm.
But I'm excited to see more results, like what they find out about the leather.
yeah,
That's super cool.
I'm wondering if they're going to take it over to.
Like Gary was like, he was like excited about it, but he wasn't over the moon about it. So I think he must know, it's probably old, but maybe it's not as old as we all hope.
Yeah. And
that's what his kind of body language was telling me.
Well, Jack gets excited when he's asking him like what it would be for.
Mhm.
And they're saying for like a sling pouch, you
Yeah.
know, if you're looking for rocks,
Mhm.
for your musket, for your I don't know, your slingshot, whatever.
Yeah.
And Jack's like, I like the idea that it's a coin bag, and like they were running through the forest and it breaks, and then there's coins and buttons everywhere.
I like that idea too.
So,
But speaking of buttons, yeah, they get another hit and they find something.
Button.
Yeah, they're like, oh, hopefully it's a coin, but no, it's a button.
It was round. It was a Bobby Dazzler of a button.
What was it made out of?
Well,
we'll
sure. Get there.
They weren't sure, but one of the suggestions was pooter.
Pooter. I haven't heard pooter in a
No,
while.
we haven't heard that in a while. So they decide, hey, you know what? We need to go take this to Kelly Barassa and see if he can figure out what it is.
Yeah, because it's an old button, single loop button.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
So are we
off
to the archaeology trailer?
So Gary and Jack meet with Kelly, who I'm a fan of Kelly.
Me too.
Oh
Good
man,
dude.
I
Good
love
guy.
his excitement. Currently Kelly is finishing up cleaning an ox shoe. I bet you he cleans a lot of those.
Probably.
And Gary asks about the button. He's like, hey, how's that button coming that I brought you yesterday? And
he's like, well, looky here. I was
like,
just about to put it in the XRF machine.
He's like, I haven't got to it yet, guys. Is more
There's
what
so
he was
much being
saying.
found.
That's why he has to be there all the time.
Yeah, you live there, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they do end up putting in the XRF machine.
And they do it before cleaning it.
Yeah.
Because they want to know if there is precious metals in it, if it is the dirt,
soil based, or if it's on the artifact itself. Sure.
Exactly.
All right, so they put it through the RXF
XRF
deal. Yeah. So what did I say? RFX?
Yeah.
XRF deal, and they see that it primarily consisted of copper and zinc, and then the little elements are like popping up, and then you see AU, which is gold, baby.
Gold.
So I don't know why we didn't get a gold dance again, but whatever, Gary. I don't think he has a gold dance at this point. What do you think?
I think he can't have it. He's hiding it.
Yeah, come on, Gary.
Proof
you
is
just
in the pudding.
You legit just found gold,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not doing the gold dance. So I don't know.
Yeah. So
Anyway, they're talking about, well, how can this, or like gold on this button? What can that mean?
Mhm.
And I think Kelly Barassa was like, well, it could be like an officer's button from British military.
Mm-hmm.
And so they kind of talked about that a little bit.
Mhm.
But Kelly said it's definitely unique and basically really cool.
Yeah, he's like, how about you go find some more? And they're like, well, geez. And I'm thinking, okay, Marty.
Yeah, he's hanging around Marty too much. Taskmaster.
Right?
Yeah. So we do go back to another war room meeting.
Mm-hmm.
This time we have Marty, Rick, Alex, Steve, Spooner, Laird, Doug, Billy, Peter, Jack, and Craig.
You know why?
Craig is via video.
Because everybody's there because Craig is getting ready to deliver C14 results. We know this is his favorite part, and everybody loves getting C14 results, especially from Craig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they're all there for that purpose. And Craig is going to give that C14 data. And again, this is the wood found beneath the stone road by the archaeologists.
From the root.
Yeah, the root.
This is the root that they're looking at because they have bisections of it on the table.
Yeah, and Craig says that they had it tested. The the 2 dates that they had were the same for both artifacts, both pieces of wood.
So they only did the root.
Huh?
They only did the root.
I thought there was a root and another piece.
Yeah, but I didn't.
They were both under the road, though.
Yes, but the root is what they were just getting the C14 dating on.
Okay.
And they tested the inner portion of the root and the outer portion to see if those matched up and make sure that their data was good, right?
Yeah, and so with a big smile, Craig said 1474 to 1638.
What?
Boom.
And Doug looks so excited.
Oh, yeah. And he should.
Yeah,
that's exciting. That's crazy dates. Steve says that almost lines up perfectly with what they had just tested in D2, the wood that was pulled out of that core and over at the money pit. And Craig agrees. Marty says that.
Okay, but what does that mean for the road?
Yeah, what does it mean, right? And Laird explains to him it means that the root was there when the road was built. Like literally, the road was built on top.
Yeah,
because the root wasn't intrusive. Laird looks to Spooner, and he asks him if that's his interpretation as well.
And Spooner agrees, says that yes, the root was there, in his opinion beforehand, but probably shortly beforehand, which is subjective in this world. Because Marty asks if he could say that it was contemporaneous with the construction, and Spooner says, yeah, I mean, add a few 40 or 50 years, maybe. And he acts like that's like this tiny time period, right? And if it was the exact same time as laying it down.
With the work he does, like and geologically speaking, that is a short period of time.
In
but
human
for us, it's like, that's quite a bit of time.
Like, that's a big chunk of time.
It's more than my whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then he also goes and explained that how it actually fits very well with the dates that they have, with the stakes that they found along the cobble path.
Exactly.
And Marty then says it's quite a way from the time of the discovery of the money pit, like prior to. And Spooner agrees. Spooner goes on to say that there is a narrative here of people depositing things, and we have the threads to tie the massive undertaking at the money pit and the stone road construction together. And to him, that's a really big deal. Okay, time out. I just need to say real quick, like Spooner is so good at explaining things.
He is.
Like, well, he's a teacher, right?
So that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, but he is so good at it. Like Spooner, I would want to take his classes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just feel like I would learn so much because that guy, he spells things out in a way that people like us can understand.
Yeah, we can understand, but we don't feel like we don't know anything either. Like we're not being talked to like children, but he can put it in simple terms. I did like what Marty had said. We have lots of dates that seem to be focusing on mid 1600s, going back to the 1400s. The timbers they used back in the day were probably 100 years old, right? That's about what they would have used for the size. So that brings us to the 1750s at the maximum. So that's really good information for them. And it's kind of proving itself over and over.
Basically, theoretically, between 1700 and 1750 is when all these trees would have been cut down.
Oh, yeah.
Very cool stuff. Very good. Very good. All right. So Rick says that the road seems to
out-treed. I don't know what
out-treed, huh?
Right?
Yeah. Okay. Well, he hopes that the powers that be will accede to their wishes, and we can perhaps do a little more investigation. All right, there is a side interview with Rick. He says, I've always believed that what happened here happened long ago. And by long ago, I mean 14 or 1500s. So my thought is that the swamp work with similar dates as the money pit. And that's awesome. And it's really hard to say that they're not connected in some way.
Exactly.
He didn't say awesome, by the way.
No.
All right. Yeah, so good stuff, huh?
It is
exciting
good stuff.
All right, so we do have one final little war room that we're going to get to, and it's actually at the beginning of the first episode of what we're doing here.
Exactly.
So we have David Irving arriving to the war room with Rick, Scott, Billy, and Craig, and they're doing a video conference with Marty and Vanessa.
Woo!
And some of David's team at Irving Equipment Limited talk about boreholes in the money pit, big ones, the big caissons.
Big ones.
And so I don't know if there's a whole ton to talk about here, really, because, like, you know, basically they're just getting ready to bring the big cans on.
Exactly.
At one point, Rick says this is not like it would be guesstimating at this point to bring them immediately. So that makes me think that this was actually recorded like weeks ago, like maybe right the week or two after they arrived on the island. That's what that makes me think personally.
Yeah, I mean,
and they're just adding to the show because we're about to start rolling out the equipment.
Yeah, we're about to start slamming some cans.
Yeah, so
and
real exciting though.
You know, Marty is kind of like, hey, do you have a place? Do you have at least for sure one can or two cans, Craig and Rick? And Craig goes, we've selected 4 cans. And I just laughed because I'm like, okay, overachiever. Like,
yeah, well, Craig, you know, it's his money too. He's like,
exactly.
I'm doing extra cans. I don't care what you say, Marty.
Yeah.
You can pay for 2. I'll pay for the other 2.
That's right. I can put my cans where I want to. And hey, you know, if you put the first one down and we hit doubloons,
that's all you
everybody's getting paid in doubloons. Do it. I'm so excited for this.
Yeah, because then they'll have a whole different set of problems, and they're good problems to have.
They are good problems to have.
So.
And to put it in perspective, 10x isn't as big as these cans, and it took them like 10 years to get down 10x. That's 1. They're going to do 4. Maybe.
Yeah, that was like decades,
right?
Compared to, you know, 4 in a summer.
Nah,
that's called progress of technology, yo.
Woo!
All right, so I think that's it.
Yeah.
So thanks for being here for the 2 episode recaps. Now we got some other things to get to.
The
like
MEGA-SODE.
Yeah, the MEGA-SODE. And then we got Clotworthies.
Okay, so what is the other things we have to get to besides Clotworthies? Nothing?
And that we heart everybody.
Oh, well, obviously. So let's see here. With the Clotworthy moments, let's talk about last week's winner.
All right, so who won last week's Clotworthy moment of the week? Which quote?
Who? It was Clotworthy.
Yeah, Clotworthy.
And it was this
he always wins.
Duh.
A possible tunnel or a shaft some 90 feet deep in the area where the team also recently found evidence of silver and gold.
That's my favorite Clotworthy moment of the year.
Oh, so far. I mean, like,
that was so
that's
good.
Pretty amazing.
That was so good.
Okay, 2 new ones.
2 new ones. Clotworthy versus Clotworthy. Which one's first?
A leather strap and metal buckle. Might they have belonged to someone who lived and farmed on the island after the money pit's discovery in 1795?
I like it. Maybe it's Samuel Balls.
Maybe. I mean, that was my first thought. I'm guessing no, but maybe.
That's fun. All right, so the leather strap versus
the button discovered on Lot 4 near the believed hatch feature, containing traces of both silver and gold.
They were by each other. Yeah. I thought they should go hand in hand and compete.
No, they're not going hand in hand. They're going versus each other now.
Versus.
All right. So if you would like, you can vote on this week's Clotworthy moment of the week. All you got to do is go to facebook.com/Oak Island Podcast. Then find our Facebook group.
Join our group so you can vote.
Join it. Yeah, you can join it, and then you can vote. For the Clotworthy moment of the week. That's all you got to do.
If you're in the group, you can vote. Could it be an Oak Island group?
Fingers crossed. I'll get that posted today, and then everybody can start voting. And then on the next episode, we'll tell you who won.
Exactamundo.
Is there anything else to chat about today? Oh, you know what? Okay, I have to bring something up real quick because we've had such overwhelming love and support shown for us. via Patreon
Oh my gosh.
over the past
Thank you. Yeah.
week. So there's too many to name right now. So I will go with a few new pledges to support us on a monthly basis with a dollar amount. So thank you for this. So we got Robert Vanderberg, we got Greg Garwood, and Gabe Becker all supporting us. Thank you so much.
It really does mean the world.
Yeah. So we're gonna we have a new goal in Patreon. We'll actually not talk about it today. We'll talk about it because we're running out of time. We'll talk about it on our pregame. So come find us on Oak Island pregame
Tomorrow night.
Facebook.com/Oak Island podcast at what time? 5:00 Pacific,
Yes.
8:00 Eastern, an hour before the Curse of Oak Island premieres.
Yay!
Or not premieres, but the episode comes on
before
in the
the
United
episode
States.
comes on, and we'll talk with y'all.
How do they find us if they want to?
Obviously on Facebook, like you just said, at Oak Island Podcast, on Instagram at Oak Island Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Oak Island Pod. You can email us at
oakislandpodcast@gmail.com.
That's right. We also have a website, oakislandpodcast.com. So if you want to buy some swag, I know people have been buying up those mugs like crazy for Christmas gifts.
Grab it. Let's show it real quick. If you're on a podcast and you can't see this, go look for this on YouTube or something, because this mug is incredible that DJ's showing. And that's just one design. There's like 5 or 6
Just
designs.
wait till the Guptill guarantee gets put on one.
Yeah. So you could go there, and it's getting close to Christmas. If you place an order, you might get it before Christmas. So go place your orders.
The mugs have been going out pretty quick.
Yeah.
So that's good.
So, all right. Is there anything else? We want to thank you guys for being here on in the chat and Facebook and YouTube. We love seeing you guys. I wish we can chat more. Come see me tomorrow night on my new podcast with my friend Dusty. What is it called? Dust Off the Past. There you go. Sorry, it's new.
Dustin.
Sorry.
The past.
Dustin Off the Past, because my friend's name is Dustin, or we call him Dusty, and I'm Dustin, and we're Dustin Off the Past, talking about 80s, 90s, and 2000 stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. Pacific, and 11:30 Eastern. Sorry, we got to go. Take it easy.
We'll see you tomorrow night. We'll talk about your podcast tomorrow night too. So
and
until next time.
Could it be?
Good night.